Oh, hello. Yes, just thought I'd do a quick one before I go to work, keeping the economy going and all that stuff. I'm a taxpayer, me. We all are. Right, anyway, today, this afternoon, I just wanted to highlight something that's been sort of all over Twitter, was all over my Twitter feed, and that's the important one, is Dan Hodges, who has a kind of jumping up and down gotcha moment with Sage, because apparently they've been modelling like worst case scenarios. Naughty, bad Sage, boo-hoo, yeah, they're all wrong, the science is wrong, we mustn't listen to them, we mustn't listen to the scientists, the experts, mustn't listen to them whatsoever. And I was thinking, okay then, mate, we won't. But it's odd that, a lot of these right-wingers will completely and utterly ignore experts who are patently wrong in other fields. And by that, I mean in terms of economics. And I was thinking back, looking at this, about Greenspan. Yes. Him of the Fed and him of 2008 financial crash, him of oops. I wonder how that happened. Now, I've never been able to find it, but I remember a few months before the whole edifice of capitalism effectively fell down at that point, that there was an interview with him on Radio 4 where he was basically saying that because he had spread risk throughout the system, bear with me on this, it gets funny, that therefore if one small part of the economy kind of fell over, then the rest of it would be insulated because all the risks were spread throughout the system. Because that was sensible, wasn't it? And all the economists said, yes, this is definitely true. And I just want to read a piece from the Wall Street Journal a little bit before the crash. Mr. Greenspan said the success of the Fed's policies during his tenure bodes well for the future. As we confront the many unspecifiable dangers that lie ahead, the marked improvement in the degree of flexibility and resilience, what a good word that is, exhibited by our economy in recent years should afford us considerable comfort. Yes, considerable falling off a cliff comfort stuff. Yes. Yeah, astounding, wasn't it, that no one saw that coming. Or, correction, anyone of a left-wing bent who has a basic understanding of economics could see that coming. If you look back at the 90s, for example, with the whole dot-com bubble and the rest of it, the US economy every few years was going through a huge bubble and then meltdown. And these bubbles were getting bigger, and the amount of meltdown was getting bigger. And anyone from the outside, not a proper economist, not a proper scientist, could see what was coming, I would argue, because it's built into the system. It's one of the things that right-wing economists just don't get about the economy, is that it isn't self-regulating. And just on that basis, you will have crashes circa every 10 years, which, historically is about right. But, of course, that can't be right because the economists don't agree with us. The experts, got to listen to the experts, need more deregulation. We keep hearing that one, don't we? And, you can see this in our own glorious government, because it's still basically the same government, folks. It might have different faces at the front, but it's still the same bunch of people. Do you remember George Osborne, who swore blind that we could cut our way out of a recession? Well, it transpired that the economists that he was basing that on, right? Yeah, the economists that he was basing that on basically made one of the most simple errors you possibly can do. Anyway, just to quote him, when it was discovered that the evidence that he was using was incorrect, an aide to the Chancellor said the result remains robust. He added, this suggestion that the case for dealing with financial deficits and debts rests on one paper is patently absurd. It remains the case that the majority of economists still back the government strategy. Yeah, so if it's the majority of economists and scientists, you have to back them. You have to listen to them, unless you don't want to. Yes, and these Edexcel ones, that was basically George Osborne's cropper and The Economist as well, because they'd, done one of those classic things whereby they hadn't noticed that their spreadsheet was wrong, and instead of it theoretically telling them that that in fact, if you try cutting your way out of a recession, it's going to be worse for you than trying to inflate your way out of a recession, they didn't pick up on that at all, because they didn't know what they were doing. And yeah, if you think about it, we've had a few of those. Remember the whole test and trace thing, whereby loads of results just fell off the end because the cheap, oh, let's not spend any money on software engineers, or just fell off a cliff. Yeah, couldn't keep up with the list of entries in it, so it just didn't bother doing them, and no one spotted it because they couldn't be bothered to spend a fiver. Stunning. Anyway, to get back to Dan Hodges, yeah, I mean, basically got to listen to the proper science. Okay then, mate, but apply it across the board. I want people who argue for a laissez-faire society to come up with a reason as to why we will not see the drastic side effects of that. Because they can't do it. Why? Because it doesn't exist in the models, and we have to follow the models. Unless it's models we don't want to follow. Pays your money, takes your choice. I know which side of that fence I'm on.